What is up, everyone? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And I am back after being sick for at least 2 weeks with an exciting troll video for all of you BTC ETF fans. So, of course, this is not financial advice. This video is just made as a troll for all of the people out there that have been scurrying and flurrying and FOMOing for the past several months, going up and down and back and forth and just losing their minds like SpongeBob style over the approval of this ETF situation. So what have we been hearing for the last several months? In the last several years? Well, in general, we've been hearing that cryptocurrency represents the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. What we're supposed to see is that all of the rich are going to become poor as those billions and trillions of dollars magically transfers to the working class people, where those poor and middle class folks will become filthy, stinking rich and the new wealth leaders of the world. How's that working out thus far? I don't know. You might have an opinion about that, and you can post it in the comments. However, as of recent, the ETF, or Exchange Traded Fund, approval is what everybody has been waiting for and hanging their hat on, with the belief that billions and billions and billions of dollars will all of a sudden come pouring into Bitcoin the minute that the ETF is approved by the SEC. Pardon me, I'm still a little bit sick with this cold. Now, it's kind of funny that as we were sitting around waiting, what was it, a week ago or so, that we had the troll tweet, the fake tweet. Everybody got gaslit, where a tweet from the SEC supposedly came out approving the ETFs, and then we saw the Bitcoin price shoot up, maybe, what, $2,000 or $3,000, where I think, if I'm not mistaken, it went up to about $49,000. Soon after that news came out, people started heavily selling. The selling was going on before the tweet was taken down and refuted. So in other words, it was a setup. Somebody did a pretty slick job at creating a huge wave of FOMO, driving the price up, and then selling into that explosion before they were even caught red-handed, when it was said that the tweet was not officially from the SEC. Now, for all we know, it was the SEC that did this. It could have been Gary Gensler himself. He could have cooked up the entire plan. But even if he didn't, it is rather interesting that some very smart people would cause a run on Bitcoin, sell into it, and basically transfer wealth. See what I did there? Transfer wealth from hardworking poor people to their hands. Is that the greatest transfer in wealth that we were thinking of? Not really. That was quite the reverse. At any rate, the ETF approval was put back on the shelf temporarily because it was said that in a matter of days after the hoax, that it would be finally approved, and then the billions of dollars would start to pile drive into Bitcoin in a very bigly way. And of course, since these rich institutions with their billions of dollars that they were supposed to spend on Bitcoin, this was supposed to drive the price straight up in the air with no corrections, no waves, no progression, no nothing. It was just supposed to be a rocket ship straight to the moon. Because the institutions have so much more money and they were just waiting for the green light so they could spend their billions of dollars. Well, how did that work out? Well, let's just look at the chart. And I'm not even going to use my drawing software, but we're going to pop over to the chart here and see what happened right here on the TradingView chart after the ETF was approved. As a matter of fact, let's just get a little arrow marker here. Maybe we can draw a few things here. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the ETF was approved here. And this is where price was supposed to go straight up to the moon. So there's our approval right there. And what did price do after the ETF approval when it was supposed to be billions of dollars flowing into Bitcoin from around the world? Well, we went straight down. As a matter of fact, price went from a peak of 49,000 to somewhere around 46.9 after the fake news. And then after the real news, we dropped from 46,900 and change as low as 41,716. And now we've settled in at a price of 43,000. Well, that's strange, because weren't we supposed to see this moonshot? Weren't we supposed to see the most tremendous buying pressure known to man? Weren't we supposed to see an unstoppable wave, bullish wave that would just circumvent the bull run, which isn't supposed to be here until 2025? Isn't that what all the big mouths have been saying on YouTube for the past several months? Well, I tell you what, you might have noticed if you're in my group that I have not given much of any attention to the ETF in my discussion group. You will also notice, if you've been watching my videos, that I haven't given much attention to the ETF in my reports right here in TA. If you're scratching your head wondering, it's because I don't fall for narratives, news, and when 99% of expectations are lined up one way on one bit of news, I give that no attention. Because whenever you see a polarization like what we just saw, where everyone says, hey, what are you going to do when the ETF is approved? Are you going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin? I'm not even going to answer that. When everyone has that belief that it's all of a sudden so easy that all you got to do is just sell your house or put a mortgage on your house, sell everything you own and go into debt, get as many loans as you can and pile that into Bitcoin the minute the ETF is approved, and you will be rich overnight. As soon as people start talking like that and thinking that way, that's when I know the exact opposite is going to happen. So while everyone puts their faith into the ETF process, I look at the chart. What does the chart say? Stochastic on a steep dive. Bearish crossover on the MACD down here. What does the 1 week chart say while the ETF claims that Bitcoin is going to the moon? Well, we see a rollover. We see a stochastic that is already bent over at the peak, ready to exit the overbought zone. We see an MACD that is headed towards a bearish crossover on the oscillators. We see the MACD histogram printing light green bars after this previous peak dark green candle here. What do we see on the 1 month chart? While everyone claims that the ETF is going to take Bitcoin to the moon right now. Well, let's just look and whoa, lo and behold, we have an absolute peak on the stochastic, where the crossover has happened, where we have seen a progression that started back in November and went through the full month of November, December, January, halfway, and now we've crossed over. But this is supposed to be the point that we go straight to the moon? How is it that the ETF is approved right here at this bearish crossover of the stochastic? How many times have we seen Bitcoin go to the moon after being at a stochastic peak? Never. The closest we got to it was this peak here, but it did correct. And then it went up again and we had another peak. And after that, what did we do? Full cycle down. So here we go back up. What do you think is going to happen right here? It's either going to be slight correction or full cycle down. But one thing I can tell you is, based on the history, I don't see anything here that would convince me that Bitcoin goes straight to the moon from this point with no correction. But hey, you can believe what you want. You can listen to all of the yip yap about the ETF that you want. You can sit here and think that BlackRock and Fidelity and JP Morgan Chase and all of these folks, you can sit here and think that they're just going to allow everybody to jump on the bandwagon and get rich right along with them. Now, if that were to happen, my question is, where does the money come from if everyone is on the same bandwagon? And do you really think BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase, all of the big investment firms, do you really think that they're that dumb that they would sit around and watch the greatest wealth transfer in the history of man as the retail investors win the game because they were given the answer that it's as easy as going in head first as soon as the ETF is approved? Do you really think that they are that dumb that they could be outsmarted and give up their wealth that they hoard and hand it over to you on a silver platter? Actually, I think they're pretty smart, because that's what their profession is to sit and predict what you retail investors are thinking and then do the opposite. They probably enjoyed themselves saying, look at all these fools who think that Bitcoin is going to go to 500,000 the minute the ETF is approved. Well, time to pull the rug. Let all these fools jump in head first, and then let's liquidate all those longs and make some money. I think it's a lesson learned. But will people learn their lesson? Probably not. Now that we've had the ETF, which was supposed to be the biggest news in the history of cryptocurrency, I'm sure they'll come up with something else to whip up some FOMO. Maybe during the bull run, maybe on the next bull run. But I guarantee you, they're going to come up with something. It's always something. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you think about all of this. I'd love to hear your observations after watching Bitcoin fall flat on its face after what was supposed to be the most catalyzing event in the history of cryptocurrency. I'd love to hear what you think. But one thing I would love even more is if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Pro channel. And if you would like to help support this old man that gets sick sometimes and has to deal with a cold, a nasty cold, you may do so with the giving of a super thanks. I've got some TA and some micro cap, small cap, meme coin videos coming your way, and they're going to be hot. If you made it this far, congratulations. If you're in the small group of the 50 or so people that are closest to me, congratulations. I'm going to have a treat for you. I've done some deep digging, And I'm going to give you information that doesn't go along the same lines of what everybody else is saying. It's going to go a little against the grain, but I'm going to hand you some gifts to thank you for being here. That's about all I've got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.